Good morning. We're live this Tuesday morning. This morning, we're going to be talking financial literacy for our teens and how do we educate them on the topic. I know it could be a little scary because a lot of us feel like we don't know enough about it, but our guest, Melanie Mortimer, is here to help us and she knows what she's talking about. But before we get to that, I want to remind you that if you're joining us live this morning, feel free to dialogue with us by putting questions or comments in the comment section. I'll be looking for those. And if you are watching a replay, you can still do that, but I will need you to remember that Melanie won't be here. She won't be here 24/7, but you can dialogue with other people who are watching replays, and that happens a lot. So please feel free to do that. Melanie Mortimer is president of the SIFMA Foundation. She's going to tell us what that stands for because it's key to our conversation. Thank you for joining us, Melanie.
You're so welcome. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm really excited to talk to you about something that we care deeply about at the SIFMA Foundation, financial education.
Thank you. Why don't we start with you telling us a little bit about yourself and your work?
Sure. So I'm president of the SIFMA Foundation, and my work is really involved in helping equip young people for their future financial lives. And what we've found is that by starting early in life to lay the groundwork for good habits, behaviors, knowledge, and skill building around personal finance, that young people actually get a competitive edge on their financial future. They avoid a lot of the mistakes that some of us have found ourselves making over the years that can be difficult to unwind from. And in fact, they get to benefit from the upside of the market through things like compounding interest and really build the opportunities to participate in our financial world.
Wonderful. I'm going to ask you as we go along to define some terms for those of us who think we know what they mean, but aren't positive. But first, why don't you tell us about the SIFMA Foundation and explain what the acronym means?
Sure. So the SIFMA Foundation has been around for over 40 years. The acronym stands for Securities Industry Financial Markets Association. And the foundation itself is an independent nonprofit educational organization. Our goal really is to bring opportunities that are real world and fun for young people to learn really critical life skills such as personal finance. In the 40 plus years we've been around, we've reached 22 million young people. We do that at a rate of about 600,000 every year, and we're trying to build that to 1 million. So I'll come back to that later. Okay. But in that group, we reach 300,000 girls anywhere from age 8 to 18 and beyond. 300,000 young boys, same age group. And we find that we're ensuring that schools that may not have resources to bring financial education into the classroom are equipped through our team to be able to understand and easily provide effective and fun programming for youth to learn these concepts.
Okay. And a lot of people who are watching don't know that they have maybe come in contact with the foundation because they know your product, the stock market game. So if you ever wonder where they came from, now you know. Let's start really simple. Could you please define personal finance?
Sure. Personal finance can really include all of the financial decision points that an individual makes from teenage years through adulthood to retirement age. These are your everyday experiences with money and with providing resources for yourself and, as you get older, your loved ones, your family, whether it is about credit and debt or saving and investing, a bank account, paying your bills, buying things at the store, whether it's about building your financial future, such as investing in a retirement account, or it's dealing with mortgages through renting and buying a home. There are lots of touch points in your life where you are actually confronting financial decisions. You may not even realize it, like getting a phone plan or paying your bill at a certain set of payments throughout the year versus right up front. These are all financial decision points you're making. And so personal finance encompasses all of that, anything that relates back to your own financial life.
Okay, thank you. Why is personal finance literacy important? Why should we prioritize this in our homes?
Yeah, I think the interesting thing is that we learn so many different skills and we gain knowledge in all of the classes at school that teach us about history and math and English literature or reading. And yet, when it comes to something that's so integrated into our personal daily lives, like personal finance, we are not getting it necessarily in school. And we're not necessarily getting it at home. And so I think the realization that we can't not have a personal financial life is one that encourages us at the SIFMA Foundation that bringing financial education to individuals is really critical. And so we work with schools, as I mentioned, but we also offer our programs online for adults to work with young people because there's no way to avoid having to make financial decisions in your life. Whether, as I mentioned before, you're getting a credit card or you're paying your bills or you're price comparison shopping at the local grocery store, these are all decision points that having a little bit of knowledge and understanding of how to make those decisions in a way that benefits you the most is going to be helpful.
Okay. When we were pre-gaming, you told me about two myths. You just mentioned one, that parents think students learn this at school and teachers think that students are learning this at home. So that's one myth of personal finance and young people. What's the other one?
The other myth about personal finance is that when it comes to young people is that they don't have the capacity to be able to understand this content. The fact is, as we've been talking, all of this is very tangible. It's very much a part of our practical lives. And there's nothing more motivating for young people than when it comes to education than being able to see a practical application of something. As soon as it becomes real world, then that aha light bulb goes off. And we feel that there's a value to what we're learning, and we can contextualize it. So I think there are many adults who have struggled to understand personal finance or investing or some of the jargon that they hear on the financial news programs. But actually, though they may think because they don't understand it, young people can't, the fact is young people do get it. And now there's so much information in the public domain about things like investing, about cryptocurrency, about ways to spend your money. And unless you're bringing fundamental, good habitual exercises or conversations into the house, you're not going to be guaranteed that your children are accessing the kind of information they need to be able to have a healthy financial life.
Okay. And also, I think that sometimes we underestimate the degree to which our children care about personal finance. I mean, everybody knows that you need money to buy things and that so you have to earn money. Kids know this because they want things. They're always asking us for money. So there's a touch point to begin a conversation, I'd imagine. And you touched on why this is so scary for us, because we don't understand this stuff. We're watching, CNBC, and they're talking about things, and there are these ticker tapes and graphs going on. And then you mentioned cryptocurrency and what are the EFTs and stock market and all this stuff. And I feel as if my teen should be teaching me about two of the three of those things rather than the other way around, because I'm not sure I 100% understand it. Where should we begin? I'm not going to begin with crypto because I don't understand it completely.
Well, I mean, first of all, I think children are more intelligent than we give them credit for. They're more understanding, they're more resilient than we believe, and they appreciate honesty, consistency, and even facts about difficult financial situations. Mm-hmm. So, and then secondly, I think we adults always feel like we have to have all the answers, and that we can't have conversations unless we know what we're going to be talking about, and we can assure ourselves that we have all the answers. And that can be intimidating, actually, for young people. So when it comes to where do you start, obviously, always starting with the personal is the most authentic for young people. It's it helps them feel connected. And so talking about household finances is okay. I mean, you want to start slowly, and you sort of want to ease into the conversation with them. But involving children in money discussions at an early age is very plausible, and having them get a general idea about the household's income and expenditures is okay. You can give them even a little bit of responsibility. Talking about a family budget, for example, is a great way for them to begin to think about a few really critical, essential skills. So one is not spending more than your means. And so beginning to understand by looking at a household budget, or think about, how much is coming in the door and how much of that can be used for different categories of household expenses, grocery shopping, activities, paying the bills, etc. That's a great starting point of a conversation. And I think what parents find is that when they involve young people, when they involve their children in these conversations, that children become more protective of the finances coming into the house, and are a little better understanding when those difficult conversations about why I can't have what I want right now because the other people in school are getting those things and it's not fair. These kinds of household conversations make for a better experience down the road when maybe you have to pull back and can't afford to pay for all those wants.
Yeah. Wants versus needs. We have a comment from Stephanie I'm going to put up. Stephanie says her son is 16 and now has a job and is so excited when his check is deposited. She helped him open his own bank account, and she's taught him how to budget and to put 10% in his savings.
Wow, that is just amazing. I mean, first of all, congratulations on your son having his job. That's really terrific. Beginning to save at age 16 is so exciting because there is a term I mentioned before, compounding interest. And basically, as your money grows, the interest payments that you're getting from your bank account are also growing. And that over time enables you to see that by putting your money aside in a bank account or in an investment account, that while you're doing nothing to work for it, but just letting it sit there, it's actually earning on itself. And so your son is going to benefit tremendously from that if he's starting at age 16. They say at an average rate of interest that it usually takes about 7 years to double the amount put in. So he's going to start to see the benefits of that. A paycheck also gives you an opportunity to talk about things like taxes and Social Security and saving for the future, because when your son is being paid, usually at age 16, it's on an hourly basis. Money will be taken out via taxes and Social Security payments, etc. So it's a good opportunity to have those conversations as well.
Great. Now, I'm going to need your help telling us what we should know. For example, and what can help us. I know you guys have some products and there's some other resources out there. For example, we're dealing with teens. So let's say our 12 or 13-year-old really early comes to us and they've heard about this stock market. How are we going to explain that and break that down to them? And they want to do this. They've saved some money. Maybe they've been, feeding a dog or walking a dog, and they've saved some money and they want to participate in this. What should we do?
Well, we have some great tools at the SIFMA Foundation that you can access online at www.stockmarketgame.org. Essentially, I think it's helpful for an adult to learn with their teen. It makes it fun. And because it's a learning environment, you don't have to worry if you have all the answers or don't have all the answers, because the information is there and it's an adventure. The first thing you want to really learn about is what is investing and why is it a valuable part of your financial future. So if you're saving money in a bank account, you have an opportunity for your money to grow at the current interest rate. Typically, if you're investing, the amount that your money can grow is a much higher percentage. And so there are opportunities to have both saving and investing accounts, and to seek advice from financial professionals in either case, and also to explore yourself how you want to invest that money. So when it comes to investing, we have financial markets. They're global. They go up and down. You've probably heard a lot about it recently. And you have an opportunity to invest in several different types of assets. And kind of like having a meal plan, you don't want to invest in the same thing over and over all the time. You want to have a diversified portfolio, which is similar to having a dinner plate that may have spinach and chicken and rice, where you're getting the different food groups together. So in a diversified portfolio, you would have the different asset classes, which are stocks, bonds, mutual funds, and potentially cash. Investing is a great way to engage with your teen through the stock market game, because you have a hypothetical portfolio where it's valued at $100,000, and you get to go online and pick your selection of a combination of stocks and bonds and mutual funds. And over time, you can see how they grow in the real world markets. And you can say, oh, that was successful or that wasn't. And at the end of the day, you don't lose any real money, but you begin to learn about how investing takes place.
I have one more question about the stock market, and then we're going to talk about other things, because personal finance is about more. But remember, was it about a year ago? I'm old, so I lose track of time. Remember the whole GameStop gaming that people were doing, and there was another one that was happening. Was that good? How do we explain things like that to our young people?
Yeah, I mean, so the issue with the GameStop situation is that there was a lot of social media buzz about what was happening. And there were folks saying, oh, buy, buy, buy. And then they were saying, oh, sell, 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 or short sell. The reaction, very similar to what happens on social media, is that a lot of people were just following the hype, and they were not stopping and taking time to research and understand exactly what was going on before they made their decision. And the whole idea of the stock market game is that you learn how to do research, you learn where to find valid, balanced information about where the markets are going, or ways that you can protect yourself as an investor. And unfortunately, during the GameStop situation, people were not making decisions that were information based. And we all know information can help drive great decisions. And so there was access to these tools to invest, but not as much access to the information to make the decisions that would guide a beneficial outcome. So I think the key lesson here is that if you're a new investor, and you hear things on social media, you see things, everyone's running to do something, take a moment and investigate it before you jump right in, because there could be some consequences that you're not aware of. And the last thing you want to do is have to unravel yourself over years of debt from a rash decision that you made that could have been prevented.
Okay. So information is key. Information-based decision making, whether you're investing in the stock market or some other vehicle, but also I'd imagine giving our children information about checking accounts and budgeting, as you mentioned and stuff. And we know that our children are very that they're peer influenced. So what can we do to either bolster positive peer influences or counteract negative peer influences when it comes to spending habits?
Yeah, so I think first of all, in our society, many people aren't comfortable talking about money. Um, in fact, the American Psychological Association has a Stress in America survey, and they say 95% said parents should talk to their kids about money, but only 37% said they often talk with their family members about the subject. And so if you think about it, if you're not talking to your children about it, those peer conversations that you mentioned, Kamara, are going to be much more powerful, influential. So you want to counterbalance that through conversations with your teen. And when it comes to helping to prepare them for those sort of influences, if they're seeing you approach spending and saving in a way that is not measured or information based, or delaying gratification in a way that you want them to behave, then they're not going to. So model the behavior at home, set a good example, be in conversation with your teen about ways that they can make good financial decisions, even if they don't have money in their hands. If they are choosing to want to go places or do things that are beyond their means, then it's good for them to understand where to draw the line. And so helping them then be a good influence on their peers can really be a possibility. So yeah, just make sure that you are having those conversations about money. Don't kick the can down the road. and help model the behavior for your child. And I think at the end of the day, those peer conversations become much better informed by your teen, and potentially can be a good influence on their peers.
What are some conversation starters we can have with our teens to get the ball rolling? We want to talk to them about money, but we don't even know where to start.
Sure. Wow, what a good question. I think, you don't have to wait until they're teenagers, by the way, to have these conversations. So if you have a very young child who has a favorite teddy bear that's all beaten up, and prefers that to all of the new toys in the room, that's a great kind of conversation about value of things. So it doesn't have to be expensive, cost a lot of money, be shiny and brand new for it to have value. And asking your child, why is it that you like this teddy bear more than this doll? Great conversation to start learning about the value of things and how value is assigned to things. I think another great conversation is really, one of the fundamentals of personal finance when it comes to behavior is delayed gratification. And so helping a young person understand that by waiting for something, it can grow and it can become something bigger. So I guess some of us like to eat raw cookie dough, but really it tastes much better when it's cooked. Or maybe cake batter is a better example. That, yes, you can taste it now and it tastes delicious and sweet. But if you bake it, you have a whole cake. And then you can frost it and decorate it, and you have something that rewards you for waiting. And saving your money is very similar to that, in that you might want to spend that dollar that you have right now because you can buy something for it. But if you save up many dollars over a period of time, you can buy something bigger, better, more important, and maybe even buy a gift for someone or donate some of your money to a cause that you care about that brings another kind of reward. And those very basic concepts of value and delayed gratification, and not going beyond your means, those are all very real that we forget throughout our lives because of all of the societal impulses that we're getting to go out and spend money or go out and borrow money. But we're not given a lot of impulses to hold on to money, to wait with it, to save it for the long term. And so I think continuing to teach your teen about that when they're talking about things that they want, when they're talking about, can you give me some money? When they're asking why they can't have what other people have, or when they want to begin to live a financial life, like buying a car or leasing a car. It's a great kind of conversation to have, why one is, what the pros and cons are of one and what the pros and cons are of another, and which one is better for you. Or as they think about saving for college, or saving for other educational goals, what the steps are needed to set up a bank account, and begin to monitor the money that they have going into that account. They get very excited about saving when they can see the increases in their bank account. And so sometimes you want to actually go online with them and say, oh, look, this is where we were when we started the account. This is where you were last month, and look where you are now. It's very rewarding, and that mindset is a positive reinforcement for them to continue to do things that are going to help their long-term financial lives.
Okay. So you mentioned a couple of things. One is discussing the real cost of things. So when you save to buy a car, it's not only the price of the car. You have to have money saved in case something happens to the car. You have to buy gas for the car. There's routine maintenance. So it's not just the price of the car. So the real cost of things. We know these things, and sometimes we forget to communicate them. And another thing that you mentioned was explaining your decisions to your children so that they know the reason that I drive a car that's older than everybody else's car in the carpool line is because of this. Maybe it's because this is what I can afford because cars cost this much money, as we just said. Or maybe it's because this car is paid for. And I really like the idea of not having a car note. And explaining that to them and what it means when you have a car note, what interest means. But if you explain your decisions, all they see is that your car is older than other cars. And then you can admit, yeah, those new cars are really nice. I must admit, they're really nice. But I have to remind myself not having a note is nice too. So we are in a national financial crisis. Nationally and individually, we are in these. What can we do beyond teaching our children about personal finance? What more can we do?
I mean, again, there is a lot of stress around money. And I believe that there are a lot of people struggling with money, a lot of families really struggling and finding assistance and support, first of all, to help address your basic needs is critical. Because if there is an underlying current of financial challenges at the home level, it can really affect your personal relationships with your partner, with your children, with your parents. So certainly looking at your personal financial health and trying to reduce stress. If you have debt that you can begin to pay off, try to pay it off. Seek information. There are a lot of resources available online, and we're happy to connect individuals as they're seeking those resources at the SIFMA Foundation. And then looking at ways to begin to plan for a positive future financial life. It may take several steps to get there, but ultimately, if you're taking steps in the right sequence, you'll be able to begin saving for an emergency by setting up a rainy day. And then after that, taking a little bit and putting it into a saving account. And at that point, thinking about investing. So going down a pathway of developing a healthy financial picture for your family is obviously really critical. If you are in a beneficial position where you actually can help, where you have more than you need, then I encourage you to take your time and your personal resources and see how you can help plug some of the gaps for others who may be struggling. Volunteering for organizations that help people do their tax planning or find tax refund situations is helpful. Enabling people to understand better how to open a bank account or pay their bills is beneficial. And then certainly making contributions, financial contributions to organizations that are helping individuals who can't cover their basic needs, whether it's homeless shelters or food banks or others that cover basic necessities. I think we can all be a part of the solution for this financial crisis that our country is in. And it comes down to these types of supports for others and thinking beyond just your family once you have the means to be able to do so.
And are there resources or organizations with whom we can partner if we want to advocate for personal finance literacy within schools or communities? Are there places for us to go?
Absolutely. You would think that with how much personal financial decisions, how many there are out there in the public domain, that personal finance would be required in school. But it's not. And only in a handful of states is it actually mandated for graduation. The good news is that the number of those states is increasing. But we do need advocates out there. And I think the best way to do that is through an organization called the Jumpstart Coalition for Personal Finance. They are a coalition of government, corporate, and nonprofit entities that are focused on financial education for young people. And they have a very rich set of resources and a clearinghouse, in fact, where you can get involved. So I recommend going to their site. You can also contact us at the SIFMA Foundation via stockmarketgame.org or sifma.org/foundation. And we'd be very happy to bring you in as a volunteer to help bring financial education into schools and into youth-serving nonprofits.
Thank you. You've mentioned a couple of resources, and they are all in our comment section. So for anybody who's watching or listening, go into the comment section and you can access links to these different resources. I want to thank you very much. If there's only one thing that we remember from this conversation, what is the one takeaway that every adult should have from this conversation?
I think to explore your own financial future when you're young, so that you have the opportunity to build a long-term path that you feel good about, and that's going to protect you and give you access to the incredible opportunities that this world has to offer us. So start early, and it's never too late.
That was one of my takeaways, is that it's never too early and it's never too late. And if you are nervous about it, admit that to your teen, and you guys can learn together. It's an opportunity for you to learn together, and they may appreciate that you are not the expert in this area, but you're willing to learn and help them become an expert for their personal finance. Thank you, Melanie. Thank you so much for joining us today. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me, and we hope to see all of your audience on www.stockmarketgame.org. We think it's fun, and maybe, Kamira, you and I can compete against one another and see how our portfolios do.
I'm willing to do that for the fun of it, because as my family knows, I like to talk a lot of smack when playing games, and I usually lose, but I still have fun. So I'm willing to do that. Stephanie says thank you, and she thinks that you're amazing. And I think that this was an amazing conversation too, Stephanie, so thank you. Please join us tomorrow. Sue's going to be on tomorrow, Wednesday. She has a guest she's talking to. It's a very important conversation. I do not have the name of the book, but it's the book of questions. It's written for youth, but adults can benefit. It's about having discussions around race and our perspectives. It's a very important conversation she's having. So join us same time, 10:30 a.m. tomorrow. She'll be here. You can go to any of our social media platforms. Just return to the one you're on today. And she will be back Thursday with the Inside Scoop with Sue. So you're getting an extra Sue this week. Aren't you lucky? And I want to thank you for joining us today. Bye-bye.
Thank you.